Look at these two Kanjivaram sarees. They look identical, they feel identical, and they both carry a pure silk guarantee. But one costs 12,000 rupees and the other costs 75,000. If you're buying a saree for a wedding or a special occasion, you're likely making a significant financial investment. And like most buyers, you're probably relying heavily on the brand's reputation and official-looking certification tags to justify that price. Here is where the confusion starts. A silk mark tag is widely treated as a gold standard for quality, but that tag only certifies that the base yarn is pure silk. It tells you absolutely nothing about the metallic threads woven into it. Those metallic threads, used for the borders, the pallu, and the intricate motifs, are called zari, and the specific metal used to make that zari is what actually dictates the financial value of the garment. If you rely purely on the silk mark to guarantee the value of a saree, you leave yourself vulnerable. Sellers can, and frequently do, charge pure gold prices for garments where the metallic threads are actually just copper, or worse, coated plastic. To ensure you aren't paying a premium for a garment with zero intrinsic value, you have to look past the silk and understand the exact metallurgical makeup of the zari itself. This brings us to the three distinct categories of zari that dictate the market price: imitation, half fine, and pure. We'll start at the bottom of the matrix with imitation zari, often called powder zari. This is made from a plastic or polyester core that has been painted with a metallic lacquer to give it a golden hue. Sarees using this material have a price floor usually under 15,000 rupees. The trade-off here is longevity. Because the color comes from a painted lacquer, it will peel and oxidize black within 1 to 2 years. Once that happens, the shine cannot be restored. The middle tier is half-fine zari, or semi-real. This thread uses a copper wire core that is electroplated with roughly 4% silver. It mimics the luster of real gold at a more moderate price, typically between 30 and 50,000 rupees. You need to be extremely careful with this tier. Many sellers will market half-fine sarees as pure zari simply because there is a tiny fraction of actual silver sitting on the surface. Authentic pure zari is a different material entirely. It consists of a silk or cotton core wrapped entirely in 98% pure silver wire, which is then plated in 24-karat gold. These garments can last over 50 years and start around 75,000 rupees. This is an XRF spectrum graph and analysis table verifying the elemental composition of an authentic pure zari sample. Notice the concentration of silver, marked as Ag. Mass spectrometry data ensures it makes up between 80 and 98% of the metal content. When viewed under an electron microscope, you can clearly see how this high-purity metal forms a solid, continuous strip that securely wraps around the inner core. There is nothing wrong with buying half-fine or imitation zari if that fits your budget and needs. The scam happens when a vendor convinces you to pay a pure zari premium for a copper or plastic product. To cut through the marketing jargon, you need to know how to physically test the fabric yourself. The first method is the non-destructive rub test. If you rub the zari aggressively against your palm and it leaves behind a fine golden powder, you are looking at the cheap lacquer of imitation zari. If the saree passes the rub test, you can perform the definitive, though slightly destructive, thread core and burn test. When exposed to a flame, a real zari thread has a silk core that will burn naturally into ash and smell like burned hair. An imitation polyester core, however, will melt and smell distinctly like burning plastic. This is a polarized light microscopy image showing the intersecting translucent silk fibers that act as the organic structural core exposed by that burn test. And finally, there is the weight test. A saree woven with genuine silver wire will feel noticeably heavier in your hands, often weighing over a kilogram. These physical tests provide definitive proof of the core materials. They strip away subjective marketing claims and put the power back in your hands. But testing becomes impossible if you are buying a saree online. You can't weigh the fabric, and you certainly can't set it on fire. In an online transaction, there is one non-negotiable question you must ask the vendor. Is the wire itself silver, or is it silver-plated copper? Asking this specific metallurgical question forces the seller to drop the vague, pure marketing terms. It demands a factual, objective answer about the material composition. Once they answer, instruct the vendor to explicitly write that exact metal composition directly on your final invoice. Having the specific metal makeup on the invoice creates a legally binding record of what you are purchasing. A reputable seller dealing in actual silver will happily provide this documentation. A scammer trying to pass off copper will immediately look for an excuse to back out of the sale. Ultimately, your purchasing decision should be driven by one question: what is your purpose for this garment? If your goal is a generational heirloom to pass down, you must demand pure Saree and verify the silver wire on the invoice. But recognize the hidden trade-offs of owning pure Saree. It requires meticulous maintenance. That means wrapping it in unbleached muslin, avoiding all perfumes which tarnish the silver, and refolding the fabric every 3 months to prevent the metal wire from cracking under sustained pressure. Alternatively, if your goal is occasional wear for a few events over the next decade, half-fine Saree is the ideal aesthetic substitute. Half-fine provides the visual prestige of gold without the crushing price tag, as long as you cap your budget to match the value of the copper core. A certification tag on the silk does not guarantee the value of the whole garment. Weigh the metals, read the fine print, and invest with total clarity.